Good day. Ira Epstein with your metal market wrap-up, and this wrap-up is for Monday, the 8th of February, 2021, and we're sitting here right now, well, just getting on about 5:50 p.m. Remember, we have President Day coming up. The markets will be impacted by that next week. Monday's trading will end. It goes back to that electronic trading situation, so be aware of that. I will send out notices as to the times and openings for everything again. We have the impeachment trial kicking off tomorrow. We get some important Chinese news coming into play tomorrow morning. Actually, it should be tonight. Remember the time differences. So for my readers of my full research, I might even get it in time to talk about it. But the day was one of strong moves in the silver and the gold to the upside, along with copper. You do realize copper is back to the 368 level. This is a market that was just under the 350 zone. You're up a number of days in the energies over the upper Bollinger Band, like 5 or 6 of them in a row. So you're like a rubber band pulled. You're eventually going to get a correction in them. And we'll see what that does. We'll see if the market can hold here. Bonds and notes, still looking at all the statements coming out by the U.S. Treasury Secretary Yellen. Spend, spend, spend. On Wednesday, we get Fed Chair Powell in a speech, and we'll see what he says about this, and I'm sure he's going to be asked some of the questions. And I, of course, am concerned that I'm starting to read about variants around the world of this COVID-19 that may, just may, not take well to these vaccines. In other words, they may not work real well against them. AstraZeneca, for one, is having a problem right now in South Africa. So when we look at the gold market, the one thing we can see is we have stayed under the weekly area chart of closes. It's important to me because on a weekly chart, that gives me the bias of the market. When the market's under that, I have a negative bias. Over it, I have a friendly bias. And often when you're down, where does the market rally to decide what to do? That 18-week average. And from there, or that general zone, a new trend or a continuation of the trend will continue. In the gold itself, it's like a stepping ladder. We came down, pretty much sideways, broke to a new level. So as we're rallying right now, what was the sideways action is now resistance area. My brain's leaving here. It's a resistance zone in the market. When I take a look at where the market rallied to, well, first on the swing line, the pattern is higher high and lower low. That is the definition of no trend. You'll hear traders always talk about trend. An uptrend is higher lows, higher highs. A downtrend is lower highs, lower lows. When you get this mixture, you're just in a trading band. When you look at averages, the 18-day average of closes is my line in the sand. When the market is under it, I am bearish. When it is over it, I am bullish, in bias. Got that? In bias. The swing line determines the trend. The bias is here. Bias is a filter of the swing line. If the swing line were in an uptrend and the bias were down, I don't have anything. If both were up, I'm bullish the market without looking at momentum. So if this market rallies, the first resistance, 1843.90, then 2 other resistance points way up here. In other words, the market's loaded with resistance. As we take a look at Bollinger Bands, you can see how the market handled very well the lower Bollinger Band. Yes, you probed well under it, but 95% of the time you will close within the bands. So you stepped out of it for a very brief period of time, but back into it. That's still not a trend. And when I look at momentum, momentum is pointing slightly higher. So, in summation, no trend on the swing line, bias down, slow stochastics pointing slightly higher, not ramping up very much, and resistance 1843.90, support 1805. The gold-silver ratio is favored the silver over the gold. Tonight it's giving back a little bit of that. We can see that the silver is a bit different of a chart than the gold. First, it also doesn't have a swing line that's in a trend. We have a higher high and a lower low. Unlike the gold-silver, support is under silver, whereas the 18-day average, the market is trading under it. Momentum had been up, it had corrected, and now it's sort of flattening out here. So I can't get very excited about it. I heard one analyst today on Bloomberg talking about the resistance in silver, and I think it was out of Asia this morning. Remember, I get up at 3:30 in the morning and I'm watching television. And they were talking that markets that spike like that often go back to challenge that. Well, I'm not sure I agree. Over time it could happen, but what's the period of time? Sometimes you just got a blow off like that and you don't go back to it for a very long time. Not arguing with her that if you had a bull market you can't get back up there, but I don't know that we're in a bull or what we're in yet, so I'm waiting to see. In the copper market, I feel great that the support levels held and that my analysis, I was on today, BNN TV, Bloomberg in Canada. And I was on about 3 weeks ago or so, and I was telling them that I thought 370, 350 was about the range the copper was on. You're going to stay in at that point? You're there. I mentioned again that we enter the Chinese Lunar New Year. It actually begins the holiday on the 11th, but the formal date for it is the 12th. And on the 17th, it comes to an end. So your buying spree, maybe there was a little extra buying right in front of it. That could be the case always. But I still think copper looks good. And when asked today, and they did press me what I thought, I said, if you can get all these economies of the world not too fearful of COVID, the vaccines are working, come in the spring, summertime, I could see $4 demand in the market. If the market's doing this well with U.S., Europe, and other parts of Asia still really reeling poorly from this COVID, well, what happens when we're not doing that and everybody's going out? And what if stimulus money really hits the economy? Now, let me define stimulus money for copper. I'm talking infrastructure money. I am not talking stimulus checks to help people pay their rent, eat, that nature. I am talking, let's build roads, let's build bridges, let's do all those type of things. Well, copper is going to be used in those, and that's what I'm looking forward to, and I do believe it will happen. In the platinum market, again, no trend. You got over the upper Bollinger Band. I think you'll be up there for a short period of time. Wouldn't surprise me to just pull right back from it. You just don't stay over these bands very long. So if you want to bet that it will, for the one time you're right, I'll probably be right. According to the Bollinger Band theory, 9.5 times out of 10. Got it? 95% of the time it's not going to stay over it. That's how the algorithm works. In the palladium, when you got through the 18-day average, where do you think the next resistance is? It's the 100-day average. Now, after that, you got a clear sale, much higher, but you're not at a clear sale at this point in time. The next chart that I have, I'm not sure I'll be able to bring it. I'm getting an error sign, a connection event behind me. It would have been the dollar index, but if you'll simply go to our financial market, I'll be covering the dollar there for you. So I apologize for that, but you do get these messages every now and then. You know, if you're new to what I do here, you might want to be able to keep up with these indicators with our Guide to Technical Indicators, volumes 1 and 2, put together with our good friends at Futures Magazine, Modern Trader. And this was something I dug out for them years ago. I have been with this publication reading it religiously, I must tell you that, for years. As it's become digital again, it's interesting, obviously. So you read that. They now send you out different notices as to the day's event. You can read their articles. Quite fascinating. But with them, we were able to put this together, and I think you'll find it good reading, and it's a primer on different technical tools, some of them that I use. How do you get it? Just go to our website, free offers there. You can take it the rest of the way. I'm Ira Epstein. Talk to you tomorrow.